It's a time of speed. A time of technological advancement. A time of frustration and of devastation. This is the final day, and for some, time is running out. It's the fourth and final day of time trials for the 77th running of the Indianapolis 500, live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They call it Bubble Day. The 33 positions in the field are filled, and they are out practicing now, though no one has attempted to qualify today. Qualifications could come before this day is over. And the man on the bubble, the slowest man in the field at 217 miles an hour, is the defending PPG Cup champion, Bobby Rahal. So it could make for a most interesting afternoon leading up to the end of the day. Now, in 1978, the Rookie of the Year was a young man named Rick Mears at the Speedway. In '79, he won the Indy 500. And then the numbers began to climb, 2 and 3 and 4. And finally, Rick Mears, last winter, without warning, told the world he was retiring from active driving. And he is joining us here at ABC and working with us today. Rick, it's good to have you on board. You've been working with the Penske team all month. Hasn't there been a pull to try and get back into that race car?
Well, Paul, there really hasn't. You know, I was expecting one. You know, a little bit of a tug one way or the other when I got here, but, you know, I'm very happy. It must have been the right time and the right decision, because I'm happy with the position I'm at with the team, working with the drivers, the engineers, the cars, and still helping in that respect, and I'm enjoying that end of it.
You've been working mostly with Paul Tracy. How's he doing?
He's doing well. He's really coming along. He seemed to be very pleased with the car. You know, I work with him mainly during the practice sessions, before and after. We all get together, work with Emerson and all the engineers for the briefing, debriefing, and everything else to just try to help wherever we can.
Well, a little bit later in the show, you'll be able to talk to us a bit about how the track has changed at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and has changed substantially. But first, let's take a look at how the field is at the moment. Now, this is provisional. We start on the pole with Ari Leyendijk, his first pole, Mario Andretti inside the front row, and Raul Boesel to the outside. In the second row, it's Scott Goodyear, the defending Indy 500 champion Al Unser Jr., and rookie Stefan Johansson. In row number 3, it's now Paul Tracy, the world Formula One champion Nigel Mansell, who is a rookie here, but is also the current PPG points leader. In the center of the row, and Emerson Fittipaldi outside. In row number 4, Roberto Guerrero, Scott Brayton, and the 85 winner Danny Sullivan. In row number 5, Nelson Piquet, a 3-time world Formula One champion, Kevin Kogan, and Stefan Gregoire, a rookie. In the 6th row, Jeff Andretti on the comeback trail, Teo Fabi and Gary Bentonhausen. In the 7th row, it's Jimmy Vasser, Stan Fox, and Lynn St. James. In row number 8, Tony Bentonhausen, 4-time winner Al Unser, and Bobby Rahal, the slowest car in the field. The 9th row, John Andretti, rookie Robbie Gordon, driving for A.J. Foyt, and Hiro Matsushita. In the 10th row, Dominic Dobson, Davy Jones, and Jeff Brabham. And in the 11th and final row, Willie T. Ribbs, Jim Crawford, and rookie Mark Smith, who was bumped out yesterday, but then requalified back into this 500-mile race field. But of course, the story is Bobby Rahal. And the question is, will he be bumped out of this field? Jack Arute can answer that.
Well, Paul, just about 45 minutes ago, though, John Menard, who is the car owner of Nelson Piquet, Jeff Brabham, and Gary Bettonhausen's team, went to Bobby Rahal's garage to make an offer, that being one of their backup cars. Bobby Rahal, did you accept that offer?
No, I certainly appreciate John's interest, but, this morning in the heat, we were quickest, and as long as this wind stays up, and I don't think anybody's even going to get close to 217, and if it cools off and people start to go, we can run 220 in the cool. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I think we're happy with the cars come along a little bit, and I mean, it's not setting the world on fire, but should be.
But how did you get in this position to begin with?
Well, that happened about 6 months ago. But no, we did a test here. Mike Groff tested for us and did a good job, and the car ran 219. And it was cool, but we thought, okay, well, that's a good place to start. Unfortunately, it hasn't progressed from there.
Paul, when they get to Milwaukee, they will have a Lola, but not here for the Indy 500.
And thus far in today's practice, there has not been a time that threatens Rahal's bubble position. Coming up next here on ABC Sports, it's round number 2 of the International Race of Champions from Darlington, South Carolina. And then next Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, we'll be back here in Indiana for our Memorial Day tradition. The most spectacular event in auto racing, the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Now, the track is closed at the moment. They're doing a track inspection. There has been no qualifying today, though there has been some practice. But in the garage area and pits, politics are beginning to happen. Here's Gary Gerald.
Indeed they are, Paul. We heard from Jack Arute shortly a time ago that John Menard went shopping, talking with Bobby Rahal. The Rahal team declined an opportunity to become involved, but Eddie Cheever has made another decision. And Eddie, you're standing here. You are ready to climb into one of John Menard's car, taking your sponsorship with you. How apprehensive are you, and have you ever been in a situation like this before in your career?
What do you say? We've got 3 hours left to qualifying. I'm jumping in the car for the first time. Menard came up and asked us if we want to run it. We had a little short talk with our team, and our team's going to run the car. We're going to try to qualify it, and we'll just take it from there. I mean, it's confusing to say the least, but we're running our T car now, and that car's got a lot of miles on the engine, and we didn't have another engine to put into it, so we were really worried about not being able to run enough to get it up to speed. But Menard's offer is very gracious, and our sponsors, Quorum, are pleased with our decision, and Shirley Motorsports is ready to run another car.
We wish you well.
Thank you.
Paul?
A constant focus of attention this month has been the current Formula One world champion, Nigel Mansell, who is racing here for the first time. Sam Posey had an opportunity to catch up with Nigel and got his impressions of Indy.
Nigel, in your decision to leave Formula One, how important was the presence of this race in the schedule?
This race is mega important. I think it's the biggest motor racing month or week or race of the whole world. There's no question about it. To have sort of 500,000 people watching you on race day is going to be a real unreal experience, which I'm looking forward to next week.
Your first day here was a shattering success. Was coming to grips with it that fast very satisfying for you?
It was very satisfying, more satisfying when I look back on it, excuse me, because I was concentrating so hard in getting the rookie test over, and then just concentrating on trying to get up to speed. But to sort of make the jumps from sort of 210, 215 to 220 and then 220 up is, is quite big.
You come in here leading the IndyCar Championship. Does that in any way affect your tactics for race day here?
I mean, all I want to do is compete in this great occasion and just finish. And if I can finish, then we'll see where exactly we do finish. But I just hope that reliability will be with us. I think we're getting up to speed slowly. I still have some way to go, but we've just done another 224 lap this morning, and we've got a bit more to come hopefully this afternoon. We've done a lot of work on half tanks and full tanks, but there's no substitute for experience, and as I come into this race, I've still not raced on an oval. So I mean, that's pretty astonishing.
Well, of course, no defending world champion has ever managed to win this race. I mean, it's obviously tough despite your years of experience.
No, I mean, you can't even think how to prepare yourself for a race such of this magnitude, because unless you're practicing on a super speedway, you just don't get up to the speeds. I mean, I was just saying to Carl in the motorhome that I got in the draft of someone down the straight 200-300 yards behind. I just got sucked along this morning, which was very, very impressive. I mean, the engine just jumped 300-400 revs straight away, and I just got a fantastic tow, which I never had before, never experienced. And I was practicing in dirty air for the first time today as well, and it's very impressive what happens.
You'll see plenty more of that when the race begins.
Oh, I'm sure.
Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Of course, Nigel is not the only driver here from across the ocean. 9 of the first 10 qualifiers are all foreign-born. And many of them Formula One drivers who say they're here because it's important to put the Indianapolis 500-mile race victory in their portfolio. Besides, they like the people and they like the competition. Still a track inspection going on and no one in line to qualify at Indianapolis. We'll be back.
Genuine draft. This car is a one-of-a-kind, an Indy car built in the United States. Its owner-driver is a one-of-a-kind, too. Bobby Rahal, not satisfied with his role solely as a driver, became a car owner in 1991. 18 months later, he made the decision to build his own car. And last week, he qualified the Miller Genuine Draft Special for next week's running of the Indianapolis 500. But he sits on the bubble at the moment.
Everyone has their traditions at the Indianapolis 500, including the fans. There are many gift shops on the grounds in which they pick up their latest edition of souvenirs. And they are doing it here today. Let's send you back 1 year. Last year's Indianapolis 500 was historic and unusual. Last year's race, the 76th running, brought a new twist to the giant oval. The traditional balloons drifted into the coldest Indiana sky ever to greet the annual running. As the field formed up for the pace lap, led by pole sitter Roberto Guerrero, the tires designed to operate on a warm track had no traction, and Guerrero spun even before the race began. The car was damaged, and he was now a spectator. As Dwayne Sweeney's green flag unfurled and 32 cars roared for the southwest turn, Michael Andretti and Mario split Eddie Cheever. Then Michael took the lead. On the 11th lap, Tom Sneva crashed heavily off of turn 4 to suffer bruises to feet and torso. The next 100 miles ran green with Michael steadily pulling away. Philippe Gosch hit the wall. As his disabled car sat on the track, Stan Fox pushed him. Amazingly, both men walked away. On the restart, Jim Crawford lost adhesion on the cold surface and spun. Four-time Indy champ Rick Mears was collected by Crawford's spinning car. Rick's teammate Emerson Fittipaldi was following close behind and joined the mess, eliminating 2 of Roger Penske's cars in a single accident. Little did anyone realize that Mears would retire at the end of the year, never to race Indy again. The next restart saw Mario Andretti fall victim to the bitter cold day. Mario was hospitalized with broken toes. Throughout the day, cold temperatures would be the cause of 7 serious accidents, claiming names like Jimmy Vasser, who broke his leg, and Brian Bonner. This 500-mile race was costly to man and machine. A broken hub carrier sent Michael's younger brother, Jeff, into the wall head-on. Jeff spent most of last year in recovery. His crash also eliminated Gary Bettenhausen. The 90 winner, Arie Luyendyk, was pinched low while passing 4-time winner A.J. Foyt and lost control. He was running a strong second to Michael, who, despite having to drive past the serious wrecks of both his father and brother, was the class of the field. With laps of 229 miles an hour, Michael was now chased by Al Unser Jr., Scott Goodyear, and 4-time winner Al Unser Sr. Little Al kept the pressure on Goodyear lap after lap, closing in whenever possible. Finally, Little Al began to reel Goodyear in a battle for second place. On the backstretch, they both used a slower car. Little Al almost went to the grass and then finally went into second place. With 12 laps left, a mere 30 miles, the drive belt on Michael's fuel pump broke, and he rolled silently to a stop. His long, cold day was finished. Now, the battle between Al Unser Jr. and Scott Goodyear was a fight for the lead. Immediately, Michael's thoughts would turn to his family, and he rushed to the hospital to learn the fates of Mario and Jeff. Michael's car was cleared from the course with 7 laps left. What remained of the field was bunched for a dash to the finish. Little Al led Scott Goodyear on the last lap of the race. And Al Unser Jr. sees Dwayne Sweeney's white flag, 2.5 miles, 1 more lap to go. If Scott Goodyear has a chance, the time is now. Don't forget, 10 years ago, John Cox and Rick Mears raced on the last lap for the finish. John Cox won that one. That was experience over Rick Mears' relative inexperience. Will that happen again here today? They're on the backstretch. 223 miles an hour on the last lap.
No traffic involved.
They make the turn for home now. On the main stretch, Scott Goodyear closes in. He looks for a place to come by. Scott Goodyear tries it, but no.
I believe that's the closest finish in Indy history. Closer than the race 10 years ago when Gordon Dodd
The challenge fell short by 43 thousandths of a second. Al Unser won the closest 500 in history and became the first second-generation driver to win, to bring the Unser family 8 500 victories.
All month, nobody talked about your chances to win the Indy 500. Did you think you had a chance?
No, not really. You know, Michael had us covered all day, and the Ford Lola cars was just outrun us bad all day, and so, you know, the best we could do was best in class, and
There's a lot of, there sounds like there's some tears in your voice right now.
well, you just don't know what Indy means.
When we come back, Rick Mears will take a look at the changes in the physical plant of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We'll return with more of the Indianapolis 500 time trial after this message and a word from our ABC station. Looking live down on the Speedway and its beautiful new golf course from the Goodyear Blimp Spirit, providing aerial views of the Indy 500 time trials. The Goodyear Blimp traveled to Indianapolis from its home base in Akron, Ohio, and will be staying over and giving ABC more airborne views during the 500-mile race next weekend. Now, since the race last year, there has been some substantial changes at the Speedway. The apron, which used to be on the inside, is now grass. Now, that narrows the track by 16 feet. And, Rick, that's really changed the way a driver has to approach it.
It has. It's changed it a lot. I mean, used to, you had a little bit more band to work with. If the car had an understeer in it, you could run on the apron, get the understeer out, and keep after the throttle to keep the speed up. Well, now you got to be more precise. It's going to make much more, you know, for the driver and team that gets the car set up properly, to be able to thread that needle on the entry into the corner, it'll suit them much more than the others.
This is the way Mario Andretti had to drive it last year.
Well, you know, in that respect, he was running down across the apron. Looked like he had a little understeer in the car, or depending on which way the wind was blowing, you have to utilize the apron in that way.
Now, on the other hand, last year's pole sitter, Roberto Guerrero, never got near the white line or the wall.
If the car is set up right, you know, I've always felt if I could get the car as free as I wanted it, then I couldn't run on the apron. If I ran on the apron, it would try to spin the car, and as you can see with this run, Guerrero had the car working very well and stayed above the line the majority of the time.
Now, what about the race itself? Because everybody's talking about how they will run and how they will pass during the 500-mile race. If you were going to drive it, what would you think?
I think you're going to see a little bit different thought process. I think you're going to do more of a setup type pass. You're going to be able to, if a guy is in front of you, the car is not working as well, he's going to back out of the throttle a little bit. You'll lay back, set him up, and get a run, say across the short chute into 2 or 4 to get a run at him to fall into the draft for the straightaway.
Are pit stops more important?
I think that's definitely going to be more important. You're going to want to get in and get out fast, because if you're running with a guy that's running close to the same speed you are, it's going to be very difficult to pass.
Well, they are still practicing on the track. There are no qualifying runs. When we come back, we'll talk with the pole sitter for the 77th running, Ari Lyondike.
In 1923, Phil Schaefer actually qualified at 5 in the morning on race day. Despite blistered hands, and with the help of 3 relief drivers, Schaefer drove the final 51 laps and finished 10th, nearly 12 hours after qualifying. One of the longest days in Indy history.
I'm Jack Arute, and we're back here in the ABC tape truck along with car owner Chip Ganassi and the pole sitter for this year's Indianapolis 500, Ari Lyondike. We've been watching your run, Ari, but let's talk more importantly about the start and the upcoming race next Sunday. What are your concerns initially on that start?
Well, for me, starting up front is a great advantage, because my concerns are that the whole field has to blend in and form a one line, you know, following each other in one line. As before, you could go 2 abreast through the corner, but you really can't do that this year. Everybody has to kind of, you know, from 3 abreast go into single file, so that could be a big problem.
It shouldn't be too long before you start to work race traffic as well. Where are the key passing areas going to be in the traffic?
Well, it's, you know, you have to get close to a guy, following him through the turn so that you can pull up in the draft, coming onto the straightaway, and make your pass, you know, get beside him at least halfway down the straightaway so he knows you're there. And once you're beside him on the straightaway, basically you have the corner.
But the difference this year is you don't have that escape route. You don't have that apron, so does that demand an adjustment for you when the car is not perfect?
Definitely so. I mean, even before with the apron, you know, you make a lot of changes. You know, you change stagger tires, you play around with the wing settings, and I'm sure you're going to see a lot more action in the pits that you've ever seen before. And also this year, I believe that pit stops are going to be more important than ever, because if you can't pass a guy who's running almost the same speed you are, you have to come up with some type of a pit strategy, and that's where Chip comes in, you know, to pass him in the pits.
You know, all month you've been quietly on the top of the list in terms of speeds, and a lot of Nigel mania about Nigel Mansell here, the 1990 winner yourself, but this is your first ever career pole position for IndyCar competition. What's it been like the last couple of days?
Well, it's been pretty much the same as after winning Indianapolis. I mean, you know, winning the race here is a big deal, and winning pole position for the Indy 500 is almost as big of a deal in terms of the attention that you get from the media and so on. So it's been really enjoyable. Our team has come together very well this month. The guys, Morris Nunn, the engineers, everybody, we've been working very well together. And of course, Chip, and you know, I'm looking forward to a great race.
Well, Paul, they've been enjoying the air-conditioned cover, but now they're going out to the line because they've got to do some more practice.
Harry Lyondike, who will lead the field down 1 week from today, tonight. One of television's groundbreaking dramas says goodbye. It's the final episode of Life Goes On. Then Bob Saget hosts a special hour of America's Funniest Home Videos. And then a world premiere event, Judith Prance's Torch Song. That's all tonight, here on ABC. The president of the Indianapolis Speedway, Tony George, has overseen some dramatic changes to this historic track, including not only the track surface, but a brand new championship-class, world-class golf course. It will be open to everyone sometime next summer, and it should be terrific to play. I'm certainly looking forward to it. By the way, here is Eddie Cheever. That's the Menard car that we talked about. He will go out and practice with this car, and then hopefully at the end of the day, he will attempt to qualify. Now, Bobby Unser is over in a brand new position overlooking the second turn. And Bobby, not only is it new, but it gives you an idea of what may be happening on the track. And are the winds and temperatures keeping people from qualifying right now?
Oh, ironically, not the temperatures. Temperatures are really nice out here, but the wind is blowing bad. If you have to have the wind blowing, though, it's good because it's coming out of the south. Now, most of the action this month of May has happened right here at the south end of the track and precisely in turn 2. We're only about 75 feet away from where the cars go by us. So we can see down into the cars, we can see what the drivers are doing. We can see like if they're pushing the front ends or if the rear ends are loose. We can watch them wiggling because of the wind today. This is the place to watch the race from, and we're going to be here again race day. So it's going to be good for all the folks watching television.
Out on the track, Eric Bachelard has been practicing in the past few minutes, and we are still in an open practice with no qualifiers in line. Now it's time for our regular feature on what's new in the world of sports, science, and technology. Still in open practice at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Rocky Moran and the 43 car is trying to get it up to speed. Remembering that the slowest speed in the field is 217.14 miles an hour. It is held by Bobby Rahal, so he is on the bubble. But thus far today, no driver has turned a lap in excess of 216 miles an hour. So for the moment, at least, it seems that Rahal's time and speed are safe. But Rick Mears, the wind will die here. It always does. The temperatures will drop a bit. If you were a team manager, what would you advise?
Paul, the cars this year seem to be so sensitive to weather change with the new rules the way they are. I'd definitely wait. You know, every minute you could wait to get a little bit cooler, a little less wind, you're going to be that much better off.
Well, it's more than strategy, though, on the track, is it not? It's a matter of deciding when to fuel your car and how to push it to the line. What goes into that decision-making, and what has to be done to get it out to qualify?
You've got to be very careful because everybody wants to wait till the last minute. As soon as somebody makes a move, then everybody goes for it. So you've really got to be careful on where you fuel it at, where you have your car. Make sure you have the fuel in and be ready to go at the right time.
Now, of course, you won't be the only one that would be making that decision for your team. There'll be a number of people making the decision at the same time. So now luck becomes a factor?
It does. It really does. You know, you try to keep tabs on it as close as possible, but you never know what everybody's going to do. And, you know, Roger's very good at making those decisions and, you know, being in the right spot at the right time to make it happen.
All right, Rick, we know you'll be in the pits on race day with the Penske team, but we sure enjoyed the fact that you were able to join us here today.
7 years, excluding the war era, great drivers and mechanical masterminds have pooled their efforts in pursuit of 500 victory. But to win the big prize, you've got to make the big show. Disappointment and disaster loom in every turn in the quest to qualify. To overcome all that, to make the field, is to join the elite of world motorsports, to be an Indy 500 driver, to have a shot at the biggest prize of all. It's called Bubble Day, final chapter in the often agonizing 9-day quest to qualify for the 500. Yesterday's heroes were Robbie Gordon, who ran out of fuel on one spectacular time trial run, rebounded with another, and made the show. He'll start alongside teammate John Andretti, whose 11th hour deal with his godfather gave A.J. Foyt 2 cars in the field. When Eddie Cheever was bumped, his expression was clear. Well, I know what I got to do. He nearly knocked down the wall trying to get back in, but the unforgiving watch said the time was too slow. Downhill ski racer Buddy Lazier faces an uphill battle after this spin aborted his Saturday run, but he didn't hit anything. He may get another chance today. For every broken heart, there is a soaring success. Willie Ribbs dug deep to find his fastest 4 laps of the month of May. But Bubble Day is always the story of one man, the last man, the man who waits and wonders if the bubble is about to burst. Months of this month of May in Indianapolis, the sun has shone on this old speedway. Track temperatures have been the enemy in the search for speed. Today, the scene is different. Stiff breezes and the threat of rain may well bring a new element of drama to the final day of qualifying for the 77th Indianapolis 500. Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Despain with Derek Daly. It is Bubble Day, and every year it seems the story is the same. One man stands with a bullseye on his back. A half dozen more are prepared to take a shot at him. Today, the situation is a bit different, and that is because the man with the bullseye on his back is the reigning national champion, Bobby Rahal.
And it's hard to believe that we're talking about Bobby Rahal, former winner here, national champion, possibly being bumped out of this great race. Now his speed is 217.1 mile an hour, the slowest man in the field at the moment. He will not play the hand that he has, which is another car, unless he is forced out of this race. He has more options than everybody else because he will sit and wait and see if he gets bumped out of this race. If he does, time management will be critical because he must make sure if he's bumped out of the race, he's close enough to the top of the tech line to get a second run in his other car before 6 o'clock comes, or before possible bad weather arrives here.
The storms are on the way, according to the weather radar, and so we face this fascinating situation. Bobby Rahal, not only the national champion, but the only owner-driver in the field, and indeed the man who aspires to bring the corporate powerhouse Honda to this old speedway, is in danger of not making the race. For an update from his pit area, let's go trackside and meet the first of our pit reporters for today, Dr. Jerry Punch. What's going on down there, man?
Thank you very much, Dave, and hello, everyone. It is incredible, not only you at home and us here, but the folks up and down pit road believing that a man of Bobby Rahal's talent, the defending IndyCar world champion, is on the bubble at Indianapolis. Now, what do they plan on doing? We have Larry Eller here, the crew chief, and Larry, another car sits behind us with the Chevy C engine in it. What are the plans?
Well, we just basically sit here and watch the speeds of the people running on the track right now and see if anybody gets quick enough to where they can beat our speed at 217. Then they'll obviously make an attempt to qualify. If they do that, then we'll follow them in the line, and if they bump us, our speeds will be faster as well if the day cools off, and then we'll make an attempt to bump them.
but even you getting in line is no guarantee. How quickly has this car run today in practice?
Well, today earlier it ran 2:15, but it's been pretty warm today and the wind's really gusty. So the speeds are down for everybody. The car's gone 221 earlier in the week, so if it calms down and the temperature goes down, it'll be up to the same speed.
Thank you, Larry. Meanwhile, it is a watching and waiting game here for the Miller Genuine Draft team. Bobby Rahal's championship team sits on pit road, knowing the temperature is warm, knowing the winds are significant up in turns 3 and 4, and they may or may not have to run this car and get a shot at getting back in the field if they get bumped. Dave?
We should tell you, Rahal's spare car has been above 219 miles an hour. That was earlier in the week, but the wind may become his enemy if he needs to force his car back out because of the low speed earlier on today.
Forecast called for rain. It was supposed to rain out today. Rahal said yes, he was praying for rain. He was not praying for this. One other quick story. Each year when we come here, rumors of last-minute marriages, great former winners like Tom Sneva hooking up with car owners at the last minute. These rumors sweep through Gasoline Alley just like mid-spring thunderstorms, and today there are a bunch of them. We'll check all of those out in our continuing coverage of time trials here at Indianapolis. It is Bubble Day. It is going to be fascinating, dramatic, exciting, and we'll get to it right after this quick timeout. We're back at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Politics and Bubble Day can make for strange bedfellows. Let's get the story on who may end up driving what today. As we bring in our other two pit reporters, we'll go first trackside to Jan Vikas.
Well, thank you, Dave. It was Scott Pruitt was the last driver last night to be bumped out of the field. He's standing by right now in the backup car, ready to take it out to get back into the field itself. But the crew feels maybe this car doesn't have the speed to get back into the race. So team owner Tim Duke went shopping last night. Can I get another car for Scott Pruitt to get him into this Indianapolis 500? He checked with Dick Simon, nothing available. Checked with the Bernstein team, they need their backup car because possibly they might be bumped from the field. The other option was the Menard ride. This is what it takes to get into the Indianapolis 500. $250,000 to buy a 92 Buick Lola, 25% of the purse from the winnings if you qualify, and carrying the Menard name. That is one heavy price to pay. They've decided, I think we'll stick with this. If the weather comes to us, our speed will come up. We might be able to bump ourselves back into the field. Now, a driver that did take that option, and the story on that is with Gary Lee.
If this were a television game show, it would be Let's Make a Deal. Norm Turley made such a deal with Menard Motorsports. You have leased a car, and right now Eddie Cheever has been testing in the car that Gary Bettenhausen drove last year, a 1992 Lola.
Yeah, John Menard has been a close friend for a long time, and he came to us, knew that we were struggling, and we're down to our last key car with 2 attempts left. And with today's weather, with a strong wind, we need the horsepower. And he gave us an opportunity to get into the show with the Buick power plant, and luckily Quorum and Say No to Drugs wanted to come in and get on another car and get in the show, so we decided to go with it.
Gary Bettenhausen, as I say, drove this car last year. He has been schooling Eddie on what to anticipate. You say Eddie likes the car. He needs to get acclimated to the throttle as far as the Buick is concerned.
Right. We've been real happy with the Chevy B program that we've got for Roger Penske. It just happens that we got behind the 8 ball here at the Speedway, and we had to take an opportunity that came about. The Buick is a V6 powered. It has a lot different throttle positioning that has to do with the driver, and the driver has to get used to that. So that's something that just can come along.
So this is a lease program. John Menard retains ownership of the car, and if you watched Bump Day last year, this guy jumped into my arms as Ted Parappas qualified in the waning moments. You may do it again this year.
I might be in your arms again. Just make sure you're right beside me.
Careful, guys. That wasn't exactly the strange bedfellows we were talking about. Here is Scott Pruitt coming out onto the racetrack, and this is the car that he will attempt to qualify today, having elected not to take the deal. And to get an idea of what the weather conditions are doing to the speeds, look at Scott Pruitt's performance in this car.
Best time today was 213 plus miles per hour. Not fast enough to qualify. He has had this car above 218 miles an hour earlier in the month. He has no qualifying attempts yet against this car, so realistically, he could have 3 attempts However, with time closing in, you probably will only get one chance.
To update the story on Eddie Cheever, he has had the Menard car on the racetrack, made perhaps a half dozen laps. They've gone back to the garage to make some adjustments in the car. His speed, 212. He needs 217.1 to bump Bobby Rahal from the field. And remember, those winds will bring rain. Back at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where the Tag Heuer clocks had the fastest lap of the month, belonging to Mario Andretti at 2:27.118, and he did that on Thursday. And he will be heading off tomorrow to Milwaukee. While we're very concerned about Indy, he's got another race to run next week. This is key. The slowest qualified speeds. This is your bump list for today. Bobby Rahal, 2:17.1. Mark Smith, 2:17.1. The difference there, 100th of a second from 1:40 to 1:50. Kevin Kogan, Al Unser, the only four-time winner still active in IndyCar racing, and Jim Crawford are the first five drivers vulnerable here today. The shot is live. The cars are on the track. The drivers that you will see up until, well, who knows what time, whatever time they elect to make the call and go for it, are men not yet qualified. This is Eric Bachelard, who's done some car jumping.
And this definitely is one of the continuing stories here of this month. Dale Coyne Racing has such a torrid time with 3 cars and 3 drivers. Now they're down to 1 car and 1 driver. This is Ross Bentley's car. Ross still suffers from the burns he received 2 weeks ago. And Eric Bachelard, who was on crutches only 2 days ago, now jumps into Bentley's car. I mean, these are team players here trying to get 1 car at least into this race. They had 36 hours straight to convert a second car from a Buick to Chevrolet. It became the second Marmon Wasp. That is back in the garage area now, and Eric Bachelard will concentrate on trying to get this car, Ross Bentley's, up to speed and hopefully put at least 1 Dale Coyne entry into the field. It's an uphill battle, though.
Bachelard, the Belgian, the 1991 Indy Lights champion, his last lap at 2:07.694. Remember, it takes 2:17. He's got a long way to go. Yes, he's acclimating to a new car, but I think the big thing holding down the speeds today, we've alluded to it, we need to get very specific about it, is the weather. There's the problem of the rain coming, but the conditions today are not at all fast.
The wind upsets these racing cars when they turn into high-speed corners. Or when a car gets upset, you see Ari Lyondike comes out here for some race day running. Remember, this is the last day. The racetrack will be open until Carburation Day. So if you want to do 1 or 2 laps, you need to get out today. And Eddie Cheever, an update on his speed. He jumped into this car less than 40 minutes ago. He's done only 15 hot laps, and he's already done a 212-mile-an-hour lap. Now, to give you an idea, 5 more miles an hour is 1 second on 2.5 miles. So if Cheever, you can see the wind blow here, but if Cheever can get half a second at each end of this racetrack, he will be hovering around that magical 2:17 required qualifying speed.
Cheever's situation speaks directly to the issue of car and driver and what it takes to get around this place quickly. This man sat in the middle of the front row last year with a Ford-powered automobile, and this year he is struggling to get back into the field after he was dropped from that team. Let's go down trackside for more on the Menard team story. Gary Lee and Gary Bettenhausen, I'll bet it is.
Gary's had many nicknames during his career, but I'm just going to call him the Professor because I think he's helped more guys find their way into the show, including 3-time world driving champion Nelson Piquet. I think you helped Jeff Brabham find a few miles per hour, your teammate, and now you're helping Eddie Cheever. These are guys you have to go wheel to wheel with on race day. You're helping them get in the show.
Well, you know, it makes me feel good to help people, and besides that, there's a motive behind it. You know, I'm trying to help our sponsor Glidden to get another car in, and my car owner John Menard. So that's part of the deal. If Eddie gets the car in, that they'll leave Glidden and Menards on the car along with their sponsors.
Well, Eddie's driving the car that you drove here 1 year ago. Now, every driver likes a car in a certain configuration. What is he conveying to you about the car right now, and what have you been able to impart to him on how to drive it?
Well, he's to the point now where, I mean, he's not trying hard yet. He can't believe that he's running as fast as he is because he just ran a 2:13, and he says, I'm not even trying yet. And he's just getting acquainted with the car and how it feels and so on. But I think this next time out, he'll probably run quite a bit quicker, and then we'll have to start adjusting the car for him.
You made the comment, though, in tire test way back, in March, April, you ran 226 something in this car?
I ran almost 227 in this car, and the fastest we ran in the 93 was 225, so...
maybe you should have qualified this one.
Well, I did run it on opening day. I drove this car to get the final sticker on it, and my fourth lap was 2:15 and a half, and I wasn't even trying, and the car felt good then.
There's the professor, Gary Bettenhausen. Thank you. Let's get an update on the weather and the possibility of rain. Jan?
Well, remember that our weatherman last night was Ron Hemmelgarn, and Ron lives here in Indianapolis, and he told us that, yes, it's 80% chance of forecast of rain today. I don't think it's going to happen. It's going to go to the north of us. Well, he wishes he was on the weather station, and he hit it right on. His car just rolled out. The weather is changing. The track temperature now is down to 97 degrees, which is definitely cool enough for very fast laps. But we have very strong wind that's coming out of the south and blowing to the north. That means that on the front straight, the cars are down 5, 6, 7 miles an hour, and on the back straight, they're running that much quicker. That throws your gearing off. Until the wind dies down, you have to have the combination of low wind and low track temperature for high speed.
And, of course, those not qualified are hoping that will be the situation later this afternoon. A couple of things. The obvious follow-up question for Bettenhausen is not necessary. No, he will not cut Eddie Cheever any extra slack on race day. Once he's in the show, he's on his own. But for you, the question is, why does that car that he drove at 2:27 or whatever he said, struggling now to get up to 2:17?
Well, one thing, of course, now they all comply with the new USAC regulations, which is a lower downforce setup. When you take downforce away from these racing cars, they go slower around the corner, and they have a slower lap time. And obviously, in winter testing, you have a perfectly green, clean, good grip racetrack. It's always good for a couple of miles an hour. Another point about Eddie Cheever, I just happened to walk through Gasoline Alley earlier on, and Eddie was in deep discussion with Norm Turley and John Menard and his manager about what to do. And he finally realized he had just run his other spare car, which was his T car this morning, did 215 miles an hour, and realized he had no option but to go for another car that potentially could be much, much faster. That was the decision time, and he jumped into this Menard car. You can see clearly they're taking valued advice from Gary Bettenhausen. Look at the animation there. Do I go left and right? Do I swing into the corner? How do I do it? These cars do handle a bit differently with that much heavier Buick V6 in the back.
You're too modest. You didn't mention that you were among the people he asked for advice about what he should do. I don't know if that means that you're very wise or he's very desperate, but in any case, he took the deal, and when we come back, we'll find out if he can put it in the show. Eddie Cheever has a Menard Buick to drive here. Back at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Goodyear Blimp Spirit providing the aerial views of 500 time trials. The Goodyear Blimp down to Indianapolis from its home base up in Akron. And it's in Bubble Day at the Speedway. In fact, the final couple of hours of Bubble Day when things really get tense. You focus all of your attention on getting into the show. It all comes down to the last hour. Let's take a look at how they will line up next Sunday. There's no question who will be up front. Ari Lyondike on the pole, and then Mario Andretti alongside, looking for his second win. Raul Boisel from Dick Simon's team occupying the outside of row 1.
And moving back to row 2, Scott Goodyear, a potential winner here on race day. Alonso Jr., the fastest Chevrolet, and Stefan Johansson in Tony Bettenhausen's car.
Row 3 has the Penske cars. First time in 25 years they've been shut out of the front 2 rows. Paul Tracy, the winner at Long Beach, on the inside. Emerson Fittipaldi, a former winner, here on the outside. And the incredible Nigel Mansell, the rookie, in the middle.
Roberto Guerrero, lead driver for Kenny Bernstein, inside row 4. Scott Brayton, good run for him. And Danny Sullivan is on the outside.
The bumping began with row 5. Nelson Piquet was in a car crash outside the racetrack last night that we'll tell you about later, is on the inside of that row. Then Kevin Kogan. and Stephane Gregoire moves up to the outside. Mark Smith was bumped from that spot yesterday.
Row 60, still recovering. Jeff Andretti, tremendous run above 220. Teo Fabi, who struggled quite a bit, and Gary Bettenhausen, the first of the Bettenhausen brothers.
We go back to row 7. Jimmy Vassar is on the inside. Stan Fox, the sprint car midget driver, says, I'll take the middle of that row, thank you very much. Lynn St. James quickly came from about 212 to 218 and takes the outside of row 7.
Row 8, missed the show last year. Tony Bettenhausen, with minimal practice, comes back to qualify. Alan Sir Sr. is in the middle, and the national champion and the man on the bubble is Bobby Rahal on the outside.
A.J. Foyt's team occupying the inside of row 9. A last-minute deal with John Andretti puts him on the inside of the row at 221, and Robbie Gordon, A.J.'s hot young kid, has the middle of the row. Hiro Matsushita also qualified yesterday.
Row 10, spectacular performance by Dominic Dawson in the unloved Galmer. Inside him as Davy Jones took 2 crashes before he finally qualified, and then the multi-IMSA champion Jeff Brabham in another Buick on the outside.
The 11th and final row has Willie Ribbs on the inside, reached down and pulled up 4 laps faster than he'd run all month to qualify yesterday. Jim Crawford at 217 has the middle of the row, and Smith, after being bumped out of the show, bumped back in and is now potentially the first Smith ever to drive the race. Olivier Grouillard, a rookie here at the Speedway, is not yet qualified. Buddy Lazier, Eric Bachelard, and Rocky Moran all have cars available for attempt, along with Scott Pruitt, Eddie Cheever. We've talked about both of them. Didier Tays and John Paul Jr. are potential to bump Bobby Rahal.
And of course, the Olivier Grouillard name you see there, he did get bumped out yesterday by Willie T. Ribbs. They now have Jimmy Vassar's backup car. They are converting that to suit Grouillard at the moment. Vassar got that car up to 214 miles an hour earlier in the week. However, it will be an uphill battle for Grouillard to try and make the show in that car.
Cheever is back out. The shot is live from Indianapolis. What happens if he or someone else bumps Bobby Rahal? Yellow light has flashed for a course inspection that could indicate a qualifying attempt to come. What happens if Bobby Rahal is bumped from the field? Jan Beekes, what's the story?
Well, Dave, if Bobby Rahal goes down, what it does, it starts the bumping snowball. What can happen is that he'll hop right back in his backup car, probably bump right back into the field. Well, that bumps Mark Smith out. He's already out in Jeff Andretti's backup car. That car is a Buick Power Lola, the fastest car in the history of the Speedway. He'd probably then bump back in. That would bump then Kevin Kogan. He has a backup car standing by that definitely has the speed to get in the field. He would then bump Alan Sir Sr. Now, this gets creative. If Alan Sir Sr. gets bumped, he'd get in a backup car, have to go out, and the person he would bump, his own teammate, Jim Crawford. The whole snowball will happen if, in fact, Rahal goes down. Guys?
And, of course, the question is whether there will be time for that snowball to be built here, because, again, the weather is west of us and blowing this direction. Couple quick updates. Cheever is up to 215. The trash on the racetrack as a result of these high winds blowing across the speedway today. And one quick update on the Menard car. Technically, it's a Menard because he has taken over the Buick engine program. So it's a Menard that Cheever's out there driving around. We'll be back with Dick Simon right after this. Bubble Day at Indianapolis, where it is now 4:30, an hour and a half before the track closes and the qualifying for the 77th 500 terminates. Take a look at Dick Simon Racing's lineup for this race. Boiselle, Brayton, Gregoire, Vassar, and James. 5 cars entered, 5 cars qualified. And it's all part of the continuing success story of Mr. Simon, who came here first as a racer and then traveled the long, long road that led eventually to Indy success.
17 times Dick Simon qualified for the Indy 500. His best finish was 6th in 1987. But over the years, Simon was in marginal equipment with few dollars, and his average finish was 20th. When Dick became a full-time owner, the challenge was the same. Working out of an old firehouse in nearby Clermont, he worked endless hours to sell himself and his program to sponsors. The work paid off. Dick Simon Racing is now housed in a state-of-the-art race shop, and as the second weekend of qualifying began, Dick Simon, the car owner, has 5 cars in the starting field, more than any other owner.
I would have to say that the one thing I learned the most out of all that
was that people are the most important thing in the entire package that you put together. If you put together the good people, and then the equipment is the next thing. And in order to do that, you have to have a little bit of money to help acquire the equipment.
His enthusiasm for young drivers is one of his strengths.
Yes, it's true. We have never had a rookie miss the show here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway since Dick Simon Racing was born. And I'm very proud of that. In fact, we've never had anybody miss the show since my wife and I formed Dick Simon Racing.
One of those newcomers last year was Lynn St. James, voted Rookie of the Year after finishing 11th.
Dick Simon's the best team owner I've ever had. The energy and the effort that he puts in to every program is beyond anything I've ever experienced. You know, I thought when I came here last year, I mean, he had 4 cars, and I knew that from the testing I had done that I needed Dick. I needed Dick a lot, you know, to help me. And I thought, God, what's going to happen when we get to the Speedway when he's got, you know, 3 other drivers out there and he's going to have to allocate his time, and when I need him, he's not going to be there. And I mean, there wasn't a time that I needed to talk to Dick, or we got stuck where maybe we needed to talk to Dick as far as chassis setup, or I needed him just to clear something, that Dick wasn't there. I mean, he has got a sixth sense about where he needs to be.
This year's top rookie through qualifying has been another Dick Simon discovery, Stéphane Grégoire of France. But Simon's best chance to win the race rests with Raul Boisel. The Brazilian will start on the outside of row 1.
You need to give a lot of credit to him. He put, you know, he made all the teams, but everyone has basically his own personnel, not interfere with each other, and so he's, you know, under the banner of Dick Simon and Diane Simon Racing, but it's really 5 separate teams.
What makes Dick Simon's qualifying of 5 cars so astounding is the budget. He spends, in his own words, as much on 5 cars in the show as Newman Haas spends on drivers Mario Andretti and Nigel Mansell.
I think that all of it is summed up in saying that thanks to a lot of good sponsorships we've been able to work on, and good people, and good equipment, we're very competitive, and I'm very proud.
All right, thank you very much, Marty Reed, for a great piece. Marty wore himself out putting that story together, because keeping up with Dick Simon is a bit like keeping up with a human dynamo. A great deal of the success of this man is his speed off the racetrack. Take a look at the day of the life.
Usually get up at about 5 and go to bed about 12:31, and it works out great. I've been doing it for years. 70 is my first year here at Indianapolis, and we've been in these 4 garages ever since they built the garages. Prior to that, when the garages were this way, we were at this end also. So there's something about this corner that we must love. But everybody goes by here, everybody. So you get a chance to talk to the media without chasing them down, because you see them come by, and you get a chance to talk to people that maybe you spot along the way. Good, you? What's happening, Carl? These are my neighbors here. I'm a coffee addict, yeah. You know why? It's something for me to keep from getting nervous. I always wanted to be a hands-on person, and if somebody else owns it, you have to be a little careful about that. And I enjoy being an owner. At least you can somewhat control some of your destiny. What are we doing now? What are we going out to learn now? What is your plan now? Do you realize how much that's costing us to run around here, and how much risk? We are risking a qualified front row car to test telemetry.
He's a great guy, because he's going to give me a brand new set of tires, and we're going to run at 5:30 today.
He wants to be fast time again. I think that when people are looking for a team to go with, and they feel like they want some security, that's something they can sell to the sponsor, the fact that our team has never missed making the race. And I think that's important, particularly when people are putting up dollars. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Do we put Terrell Pomeroth in a 215, 214 car, and have him maybe barely make the race or get bumped? Or do we try to put him in the Ford, which is what I would like to do, but we're waiting on the answer from Ford. Contracts come right out here, and we take them out, wine them, dine them in the hospitality area. or take them up to the suite. Have you ever been up to our suite? Well, we're on our way to the suite. See you, folks. Thank you. Come on in. When I first came to Indy in 1970, First of America turned me down on a credit card. And today they own everything we have. Even when we come up to the suite, I have to make phone calls. This thing's earning its way into my ear, I think. I don't have to exercise. There's Lynn. Well, I'm calling it a day. Kind of slow day today, though. That was good. I had a chance to relax a little bit, meet a lot of people, say hi to everybody, and I'm just going to go home now and find something to eat, get up again about 4:30 and get started again tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.
You can see that this man is a fireball. He has a smile and a handshake for absolutely everybody. But I think one of his great attributes is when a driver goes to Dick Simon, if he doesn't have the full package put together, Dick Simon seems to be able to find a way to complete all these packages and completes most of them very successfully.
Great piece of what we call See Dick Run. We'll be back with a whole lot more of the qualifying activity here for the Indy 500. The sun is out on Bubble Day. We'll be back.
Back at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, day 4 of qualifying, what we call Bubble Day here in Indianapolis. Who will be on the bubble? Bobby Rahal right now. Who will enter the 1993 Indianapolis 500 in 1993? You know, 9 days ago, Canadian rookie driver Ross Bentley suffered extensive burns, first and second degree burns to his feet, his hands, face, and neck. His 1992 Buick-powered Lola coming out of turn 4, a split fuel regulator interrupts in the flames. The car rolls down the front straightaway, and the young Canadian rookie driver able to escape the car, but not without significant burns. And now, here with Ross Bentley. Ross, first of all, you see you're still bandaged up significantly. You are not in the car now. Where do you stand as far as qualifying for today's race?
Well, we switched the car over from a Buick Power to a Chevrolet Power car overnight, and I took it out and did some laps this morning with it. And you know, I'd been running on Thursday. I got back in the car after the problem we had last week, and I felt pretty good. I felt pretty comfortable. But as I started to get up to a little bit higher speeds today, my hands started bothering me quite a bit, and we made a decision at that point, I guess, that it was, you know, kind of fair to the Dale Coyne team. They've had a rough month, and you know, to be fair to all the guys in the team, they've worked so hard, and to our sponsors, AGFA and Rain-X and Uniglobe, that we give a shot with trying to put Eric Bachelard. He was struggling with his car. We thought we'd try giving Eric a shot in my car and see if he could try qualifying it, so we'll see what happens there.
So it is your car, but they have taken the Buick out and replaced it with the Chevrolet engine.
Yeah, we'd been having some problems, so we had been running the Chevrolet A engine for the previous races before Indy this year, so we decided that, you know, we knew it was a good, reliable package, and at this point, you know, I've had not very many laps, and from the time I got back from the fire, I've had a total of about 4 laps, really, and we really needed to get some consistent laps to get going again, so
Ross Bentley gives way to teammate Eric Bachelard to try to get at least one Dale Coyne car in this Indy 500 field, guys.
I have to say, fire is still one of the great fears of racing drivers, and in the years past when you saw the huge gasoline fires, it was mainly caused because fuel tanks in those days were held in the side of the racing car. Nowadays, as part of the safety feature, the fuel tank is now one unit and it is behind the driver's seat, so you see very few race car fires now during accident situations.
And thank heaven for that. The green is back on. The cars are back out practicing here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Time is running out. Somebody's going to make a move here soon. 83, 10 years ago. The big qualifying surprise, Teo Fabi on the pole. First time in 33 years a rookie had sat up front. Walt Faulkner was the last to do it in 1950. The other big story, 3-time winner Al Unser, joined by his son Al Jr. Little Al's the one on the left, by the way. First time a father-son combination had ever made the big race. And when the green flew, it was Fabi in control. First rookie to lead the first lap since Johnny Aitken did it in 1911. Late in the race, Tom Sneva, the fastest car, but in third, while Little Al blocked for his father, the race leader, Al Sr. Sneva eventually got around, though, to win his only 500. That 1983 race was also memorable for another reason that's very special to those of us at ESPN. This guy started 28th and finished 19th, a guy named Derek Daly. I've been wanting to see that piece and see what the reaction from my friend Daly would be here. Big smile. All right, we are back to live action here. The track has gone green. Robbie Gordon is out practicing in A.J. Foyt's car. He's already qualified and safely in the show. He's not part of the bump story right now.
No, and of course the reason he will be out now is he spent last week, which was the second week, still working up to qualifying speed. Didn't do much race day setting. He will have a full tank of fuel here to see how the car handles, because they are different when you put over 300 pounds weight of fuel into these cars.
And so there are two races here, as we've heard all month long. The race to get into the show, and then, of course, the big race coming up next weekend. As we follow the action here, quick note. Oh, okay, I wanted to make the point about Robbie Gordon's run. The least consistent run of the month, according to the Tag Heuer people. Note that 2:16.12 when he got a horrendous push in the car.
He had a major moment over the rumble strips, got out of it, kept control of the car, but knew he had to basically keep his foot in it, and he did, of course, put the speed back up again. But Ari Lyondike, you just saw a quick glimpse of him there, also out doing some useful full tank running before, of course, carburation day, which is the next day they can run after 6 o'clock today.
And listen to this. Eddie Cheever, now back on pit road, has just cut a lap at 2:17.187, and the bump speed is 2:17.140. He's faster than the bump speed on the quickest lap of the day thus far. Let's go down trackside to Jerry Punch.
Well, yesterday afternoon, an incredible act of skill and courage. You saw it on ESPN. Dominic Dobson qualified for his 6th Indianapolis 500, a 35-year-old California driver driving for Tom Burns to my left. But Dominic, an incredible run, over 218.7 miles per hour. And I'm told you had only been in the car for a couple of days.
Well, I just have to really take my hat off to the Burns Racing crew. They really did a fantastic job on the Coors Light Galmer. They worked hard on it. You know, we didn't get out till Tuesday. We had a little time Wednesday. Friday we had a problem. I did a couple spins, and thank God I didn't hit anything. But we missed some time, and yesterday just came together good, and the car really was very good during qualifying.
You took the car to the outer limit, right to the envelope in qualifying. It looked like you were even above the groove at times.
Well, I didn't really want to be above the groove, but, you know, that's free speed up there, and if you can run a little higher for 4 laps and let it hang out, that's what it's all about here. You know, you want to go as fast as you can. We didn't want to have to worry tonight. We didn't want to be on the bubble. We just wanted to get in the field solid.
Coming off your best finish ever last year, a 12th place finish, you got to feel pretty good. Everyone was calling the Galmer extinct.
Well, I think that's, you know, it's the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And Tom Burns called me here first part of May and said, do you want to drive the Galmer? And I checked around a little bit, and, you know, a lot of people were really bad-mouthing the car, and I don't think there's any reason to. Alan Mertens, Andy Brown, the guys from Galmer really worked hard on the car with us, and I think there's some life left in it. Hopefully yesterday we proved that, and I'd like to think that we can be up in the top 10 come race day.
And guys, trackside with Dominic Dobson and Tom Burns, and imagine Tom Burns' wife Linda is an ER physician. Imagine an ER physician who likes racing. Sounds pretty familiar to me.
Wonder what he's talking about. This is Dobson's attempt to make his 6th 500, the driving school instructor and graduate of Formula Ford, and that run was the talk of the garage area.
And it was, but the amazing thing is, I believe the Galmer cars went on the auction block at Auburn, Indiana, and I believe that's where Tom Burns actually picked up that racing car.
We watch the live shot here as Eric Bachelard continues to try to get to speed. Eddie Cheever has run faster than the bump speed here, but no one is yet in line. It is an international field gathered here at Indianapolis, and when we come back, I'll have some thoughts recorded earlier about that. With an hour and 9 minutes remaining here in Bubble Day at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, you're sitting at home scratching your head and saying, well, now, wait a minute. This whole show was a Bobby Rahal thing. He was supposed to be the big star of the show, and we haven't seen him. Rahal at 2:17.140 is the slowest qualified driver in the field. He knew that wasn't a great time when he took it. He elected to accept that time, hoping that it would hold up. and now it appears that he is at least in danger. Here is the man who is trying to bump him. Eddie Cheever, after unsuccessful attempts in both of his cars, bought a ride for $250,000 and has run that car around here faster than Ray Hall is qualified. Now, to get the update, the latest on the story, let's go to Jerry Punch.
And guys, the defending series champion has come on to pit road, and Bobby standing here watching the practice. Your thoughts as you watch Eddie Cheever's car come up to speed?
Well, yeah, they're getting it tuned in. All that Buick horsepower is able to pull that down for us, so he's going quicker. So we might have to fight for it after all.
It's unbelievable that the defending series champion's in a position like this, Bobby. I know you're building for the future with the Ray Hall Hogan chassis, but you know, the backup car, I mean, you've been over 221. Can you bring some speed out of it?
Well, we chose this path, and you live and die by it, I'm afraid. And the cars are very sensitive, and we're just a little bit behind with this car. That's obvious, but that's the way it is.
And Bobby, we just told that time by Eddie Cheever was over 218 at last lap.
Yeah, it's 218.3, so he's probably ready to go qualify.
Okay. Bobby Rahal standing by, watching, waiting, and realizing that if Eddie Cheever can hold on to that speed, he will have to go again to get into this field.
Well, Cheever is turning the screw ever tighter on Bobby Rahal. Rahal knows every single lap time that Cheever does because he only just did that 218, and Rahal knew within seconds of what he did.
People always ask, well, what do they tell you in those little things that stick in you TV guys' ears? Well, they tell us where we're going next. Bobby Rahal has somebody radioing those lap times to him, and he got that information while he was on there live with Jerry Punch. You know what's on his mind. I think the point that we might want to make quickly about Rahal is the one that they touched on, and that is that this team has been totally reorganized and developed in very short order with an eye toward the future.
Well, exactly, and he says you live or you die by your decisions. Well, they've changed course slightly with the announcement last week that they are in fact going to go to a 93 Lola chassis from Milwaukee on. The reason being they do not want to lose touch with the championship. But believe me, Milwaukee is a long, long, long way away from Rahal thoughts at the moment. Now, if Rahal gets bumped, let's suggest that may happen. Mark Smith is in jeopardy because he is only less than a tenth of a mile an hour faster than Rahal at a 2:17.15.
Which could trigger the snowball effect that we discussed. We'll try to get to those thoughts on the international aspect of this field later, but right now we've got a potential hand-to-hand battle here between Eddie Cheever and Bobby Rahal. And for the Cheever side of the story, let's go down to Gary Lee.
Norm Turley, I see a lot of smiles back here. What's the assessment now at 2:18.3? You going to stick her the show?
Well, Eddie's still complaining that the car has a little bit of push in it, so we're going to still work on it and that. And hopefully we'll get the push out and build up for sure 4 laps at 2:18 so that we're for sure in the show and we'll give it an attempt.
So some more practice before you stick her in the tech line.
Yeah, we'll just do a few more laps. Just like I said, Eddie's real happy, starting to feel real comfortable in the car. It's got a little push. We'll get that out and put it in the show.
We'll take the car back to the garage area for what? More fuel?
We're going to get a little fuel.
All right. Remember yesterday we had a driver run out of fuel and when he qualified. Doesn't want that to happen to Eddie Cheever.
Here's a twist on this story that we haven't brought up yet, and that is the fact that Rahal is not his own man here, or not in control of his own destiny, because the longer these guys push the process, the longer they wait before they make their qualifying attempt, the less time he has to counter if, in fact, he's bumped.
And we mentioned it at the top of the show. It's a golden rule at Indianapolis. You do not withdraw a car that's already in the show to try and get another one in at a faster speed. The gamble is way too much. That's why Rahal has to wait and sit and ponder and see who plays their hand first before he can react.
I would suspect that in Bobby Rahal's long and very impressive career, a career in which he has won the Indy 500 and agonized in his battle with Michael to win the championship, that he's probably never had a more difficult hour than this one.
Look at Cheever down here, still saps from all the information Gary Bettenhausen knows about this car. Catches his hand, pulls him into the cockpit, and they have another conversation. So Cheever using all the experience that Bettenhausen has to try and help him unseat the national champion.
Let's hear from Jerry Punch. Jerry.
Derek, I have a question. You know, Bobby Rahal was running the numbers yesterday, even late yesterday afternoon, trying to determine if he would possibly be bumped. And he felt pretty comfortable that his 217.1 would hold for the field. Now, this past week, they have been running the T-car on race day setup, working with half tanks, full tanks, different tire pressures. Now they have to go back to qualifying trim in a hurry. How much will having run the car in race day setup this week hurt them?
Well, I don't think it will hurt them that much, because what they can do is draw on the experience they've had with light fuel loads and qualifying type of setup in this car. And they've had it up above 219 miles an hour for its best run. So they will begin to bolt on that type of setup on and then tune it to the windy and different conditions that they have here today. But Jerry, you're right. It's not easy. It just isn't that easy. And that's why Bobby definitely has that worried look on his face.
While the national champion waits and watches and wonders what will happen next, keep in mind that Mark Smith is just 1/100th of a second faster, and he's on the racetrack now. So we will be following this story down to its conclusion. There is Eddie Cheever going back out, looking for yet more speed. We'll be back live at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Goodyear blimp floating down from Akron, Ohio to bring you this live shot from high atop Indianapolis Motor Speedway. John Moran at the controls of the blimp, no relation, I don't believe, to Rocky Moran, who had hoped to get out here on the racetrack today and perhaps make a qualifying attempt. We haven't seen that. The fastest rookie qualifier in the show, Stefan Gregoire, who stole that honor from another rookie here, Stefan Johansson, and that is the sixth fastest time, according to the Tag Heuer clocks this month, at 2:20.851. Now, at the other end of that spectrum is Mark Smith, whose time is the second slowest in the field. He's just 100th of a second ahead of Bobby Rahal. That means if Cheever bumps Rahal and Rahal bumps back, Smith will be the victim. For more on Smith's situation, let's go trackside to Jan Beekes.
Well, down here in his pit, we have team manager Mark Wida. He's been looking up here at the skies, and you've been trying to wave over those clouds there. You've been trying to get the rain over here to try and hold your position. Now, you have a similar car set up to what Cheever has. He's out doing 218. You're up to 213, that area. Can you also equal that speed? Because if he bumps Rahal, you'll be next.
Absolutely, and that's what we're out here right now, is just trying to cover our rear ends, really. We don't want to run this car unless we absolutely have to, but Cheever got a little bit of a head start on us, and he's been slowly working up and just ran at 218. We got started a little bit later. We're slowly working up and up to 212. We're putting some fuel in the car, and we're going to go back out and see if we can go a little quicker.
How hard do you push now? We're getting down to the final hour.
Well, right now, we're still so new with the car that we don't want to put any extra pressure on Mark. We want him to do it as comfortably as he can, and but, you know, he's a gunfighter. He'll get it up.
Now, you're a guy who could call it for us. Do you think Rahal, even though he's run those quick times, it wasn't under these conditions, if he gets bumped by Cheever, do you think he could actually bump you out?
Well, you never know. I mean, they've got, you know, a professional team and a great team over there, and I think that when their backs are pushed against the wall, they're probably capable of doing whatever. So I just hope that if that does happen and if Rahal bumps himself back in, we're in line and we got the time to get ourselves back. We'll have a Smith qualify for the third time for this race this year.
That's one way to get that name going. He's praying for rain, but if that doesn't come, then they're praying for speed, guys.
That's a great line. No driver named Smith has ever qualified for this race. His point is that Mark Smith may qualify for it 3 times in '93. Look at Eddie Cheever. The smile today is a lot different from the look we saw yesterday.
And we saw John Andretti yesterday jump into a strange car and do a spectacular job in qualifying. Cheever has never driven a Buick engine car before, but I believe they are about to push Cheever's car into line. And this looks like, why is Foyt's car in line?
Just exactly what it is. It's an A.J. Foyt T car. The rumor I heard, did I mention something about rumors that sweep the garage area like thunder showers in May? The rumor I heard was that A.J. would provide a car for Al Unser Sr. if Al got bumped and couldn't make the show. Now, Sr. is 4th on the bump list. That is absolutely a rumor. I report that only as the kind of thing that sweeps the garage area, but the T car is going through tech.
But here we see the key to what may happen in the next hour. Cheever has rolled his Menard Buick into tech. They will go through this car with a fine-tooth comb with the USAC officials. If it is legal to run, which we presume it is, it looks like Cheever is going to make an attempt to bump Bobby Rahal out of the field. Now, if that happens, you will see a flurry of activity as the line to qualify suddenly starts, because Rahal needs to get back in with his car just as soon as possible.
Gary Bettenhausen continuing to coach Cheever, who has been a remarkable student here today and has brought this car totally different from the car that he drove all month up to speed very, very quickly. And, yep, I saw the doctor down there. Jerry's got him ready to talk. Go, Jerry.
We saw you moments ago, Eddie, talking to Gary B. In just a few laps, you have gotten that car up to speed.
No, I would not have even considered it if I hadn't known that Gary was going to be there, because he has so much experience and it's easy to work with him. And he told me the car will do it. I looked at him in the eye and he wasn't lying, so I said, okay, it'll do it. I'll come back and tell you if it doesn't, but it does. The car is really set up well. He's worked with that a lot last year. I want to really thank everybody, Turley, for having gotten us to this point, and I hope we can really do a good job. It's not done by a long shot, but it's 5 o'clock. I feel good. The car feels good. Menard gave us an opportunity that I think few would do, and it says a lot to him. There's a lot of people that like the sport of motor racing, and he's one of those.
Well, give yourself some credit, Eddie. In less than about 25 laps, you went from 212 to 218, and now you have the speed to go out and get it in the field. Eddie Cheever standing by to qualify here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as the drama builds here in the last hour of Bubble Day.
53 minutes remaining in qualifying for the 77th Indianapolis 500. The trigger has been pulled. Eddie Cheever's car has been moved into tech inspection, and the scramble is on to get in line behind him.
Now, the scramble is on, but remember, we've been here for 16 days total, and there's now 53 minutes left. So it's hard to believe that after 16 days, an immense amount of activity is now about to start with less than 1 hour to go. And Cheever, you're right, is the man who pulled the trigger.
Let's elaborate a bit and correct one very important bit of misinformation conveyed earlier. We talked about the price of a ride. We talked about Pruitt turning down an offer to drive the Menard car for $250,000. Well, $250,000 deal is only a $250,000 deal if someone will take it. And the deal that has been made for Cheever is different from that, and I think it's important that we get the update on that now from Jan Bikas.
Yes, that deal is different. We're standing by with John Menard. Your car is now going through tech. Tell us the logistics of how this comes together. Is this still a Menard entry, or have they purchased the car?
No, this is a Menard entry. We had the car. It's a 92. You know, it won't be worth much after today. This is kind of a one-race series for us, so Eddie was available because they hadn't really gotten the speed up. Larry Curry is the crew chief for Eddie, and we just got together with Norm Turley, the car owner, and decided to do it the kind of last minute here, see if we get in the show or not. So this is still a Menard Glidden entry.
Now, this is your choice, because we heard that there were many people that came to you that wanted to put deals together. All different things were spoken about, different types of deals. So therefore, this is the driver that you've chosen that you want to also have join you in your car?
Yeah, that's right. We got a lot of confidence in Eddie's abilities, and we'll all know in a few minutes here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, he hit the nail on the head there. We're going to know in a few minutes, maybe fewer than these guys would like, because black clouds are approaching this speedway as this mad scramble gets underway here. As soon as the Cheever car went into line, everybody jumped to get in line behind him, and there are the clouds of which we speak, the clouds that could make that scramble moot for a lot of these drivers.
That is right. The time of reckoning has arrived. Cheever is suited up and ready to get in. If he can repeat those 218-mile-an-hour speeds, Rahal is in deep trouble, and then the line to go through tech will have to move rapidly to make sure people like Rahal or a Mark Smith, who has another car, or an Al Unser, who has a car, to give them another fair chance. Those clouds better hold off for another 51 minutes.
A couple of important questions loom. Where is Rahal in that line, and what's A.J. Foyt's car doing out there? We'll try to check on those when we come back. Live from Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Eddie Cheever pulls out of the warm-up lap to begin what conceivably could be the final qualifying run for the Indianapolis 500. Bobby Rahal, the national champion, looks on and sits on the bubble.
The time has arrived. I can guarantee you now, Eddie Cheever's heartbeat is absolutely pumping out through his chest but Rahal is not that far behind. 218.2 miles an hour Cheever did before he rolled this car into tech. They checked it over, it was good, put enough fuel in the car, they put a brand new set of tires on it, and he has the option to take 1 or 2 warm-up laps. He doesn't take the green flag, so he takes 2 warm-up laps, and then Bobby Rahal sits and just bites his nails to see does Cheever bump him out of the biggest race in the world.
And at this point, of course, it is in Cheever's favor, in Cheever's best interest to take as much time as possible up to the start of the run. Then, of course, he wants to take as little time as possible to get those 4 laps in the book. But the clock is Cheever's friend at this moment, and the enemy, I would think, of Bobby Rahal.
That's right. This is turn 3. He's well on the power now because he needs to come off turn 4 with a good head of speed, or a good head of steam, to shoot down that front straight. So Cheever knows exactly what he needs to do. He'll be in radio contact. This is the start of it. Here he goes. 4 laps.
He's on the green flag. Eddie Cheever will run 10 miles to try to bump Bobby Rahal from the field. The last time on this racetrack was an absolute hair-raiser for Cheever. He was all over the rumble strips. The car twitched all over the place, grazed the wall once, nearly hit a couple of more times. This looks smooth as glass.
Cheever is good value. Wherever the groove is, he'll use it all, and if he needs some of the gray, he's not afraid to get in the gray. But look, this car looks good. Oh, he gets close to the wall, but he looks good. He doesn't go below the white line. Doesn't go below the white line there. That is a sign of a fairly good handling car. Let's look for the first speed.
1 lap is in the book for Eddie Cheever. 1 of 4. And we wait the clock. 2:17.061.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough. He needs to pick it up. It's an average of 4 laps, so he needs to get this into the high 17s or sneak back into the 18s. It may take 2 laps to warm these tires properly. Cheever needs more. It's not enough yet.
The pattern in most of the qualifying runs this month has been start fast and drop speed, and Cheever needs to reverse that pattern. He would not be the first driver to go faster through his run, but he would certainly be the exception to the rule. He must do it. He's got to get more speed.
Okay, lap 2. It's quicker. Oh, he's right. He's almost there. 2:17.3. He's just about exactly the same speed as Rahal. A tiny bit over. He needs more for security.
Incredibly close. The difference now will be measured perhaps in thousandths of a mile an hour. Rahal at 2:17.140 and Cheever at 2:17.360. 24 hundredths of a mile an hour. There's your speed to beat. Cheever on the gas hard. But again, I'm impressed at the smoothness of the run. It's just got to find that bit more speed.
Consistency is there. He needs more speed. Lap 3, we wait. Oh, it's faster. It is faster. 2:17.5. Cheever is in the race as of now. If he completes this lap as quick as the last 3, he will be in this race, and Rahal will be knocked out.
The average is 2:17.31. The speed to beat is 2:17.14. Eddie Cheever on the front row last year and on Skid Row in 1993 in terms of his previous qualifying attempts is now closing in on the final qualifying spot.
2:17.3 is his average. He needs to be above 2:17 again. What happened? No, waved. He waved it.
He waved it off.
I can't believe that. He just did a 2:17.9.
They waved off 2:17. They waved off the speed that would bump Bobby Rahal from the field. Can that be true?
My word, do you realize that they just waved off a speed that would have bumped Rahal? You saw Bobby's wife, Debbie, give him a hug because he is still in the race. Well.
Gary Lee. Down here with Norm Turley and John Menard, I was surprised to see the yellow come up. What was that last lap?
Well, we had it under a 2:18, and we decided if that last lap wasn't a 2:18, it wasn't quite fast enough, so when we pulled the yellow, we're going to try it again.
But with the line down there, will you have time?
I don't know. Maybe we won't.
Oh, that was a crapshoot that may fail.
It might.
All right, they rolled the dice, and it may be a wrong roll.
Unbelievable.
Gary, yes, they did roll the dice. The last lap was 2:17.997. How close do you need to be to 2:18 before you take it? I hope that wasn't too big a gamble that Eddie Cheever may have lost out on.
Incredible. Eddie Cheever is going to be devastated. We'll be back with more from Indianapolis in a moment. Back at Indianapolis Motor Speedway with 40 minutes remaining in qualifying and dark clouds moving across the speedway, Didier Tays has moved out to make a qualifying attempt. The shot is live. We have gathered our wits about us. I'm not sure we yet comprehend entirely what we have seen here. Eddie Cheever, a moment ago, his team waved off a run that would not only have bumped Bobby Rahal from the field, but would have been absolutely safe there.
Well, it definitely is to me an absolute shocker that they waved off that run, because as he flew by here, officially he did a 2:17.483. Now that would have bumped Rahal out. But to bump Cheever back out, they would have had to bump Mark Smith and Kevin Cogan and Al Unser Sr. before they got back to bumping Cheever out. That is a staggering decision that they made. They cannot have known how close they were and how many other cars were slower than them in the field when they waved off that with that yellow flag.
I think you hit it right there. They could not have been able to do the calculations, and that's how close it is. They figured they needed 2:18 on the final run. They had 2:17.9 and thought it wasn't good enough. In fact, it was more than enough. All right, Didier Tays is on the racetrack. We focus our attention on Cheever because he clearly had the opportunity to make it. For this man to make it is going to take a monumental effort. His best speed to date is 14.9 and best speed of the month 2:18.9.
He will need to dig down deep to see can he come up with a 2:17, and he does. He does. His first lap is 2:17.302. So Didier Tays at the moment is fast enough on his first lap to make this race.
You saw the reaction from Bobby Rahal to the wave-off by Eddie Cheever's team. He was as stunned, I think, as the rest of us, and thrilled, too. Rahal, too, may not have known at that point that the run was fast enough. Tays is the story of the moment. At 2:17.3, he's got enough speed to bump Rahal from the show. Can he maintain that speed?
Can he maintain it? Bobby Rahal will watch. We will watch. We're going to get the seconds. Oh, it's slower. It's slower. 2:16.0. Didier Tays is not quick enough after 2 laps to make this race.
Slower by a significant margin, a drop-off of 1 mile and 3/10 as he attempts to qualify for his third Indy 500. The Belgian native who loves this race and this racetrack bounced back from a hard smack into the wall with a smile on his face and a never-say-die attitude and jumped right back into the car. And now is making the run of his life.
But Rahal's problems are going to become magnified because if Didier Tays does not bump him out, Rahal is next in line. He will not take his own car out that's already qualified. Didier Tays is back up again, 2:17.1. It's not high enough. His average at the moment, and Rahal watches, his average is only a high 2:16. See there, 2:16.8. But what I'm saying is, he needs a great lap here. If he does not bump Rahal, Rahal may be forced to take his car out of line and go to the back of the line. And will he have enough time to go through the line again if somebody does bump him? Rahal could be in deep trouble.
We're going to elaborate on that in a moment as we watch Rahal watching Tays a wave off. They did not take the time. It was not fast enough. He was short by, let's see, it's up and official now. He was short by some 0.3 of a mile an hour. So that you understand, Bobby Rahal has a qualified car in the field. If he wants to make a qualifying attempt to protect his starting position, he would have to withdraw his car and move this car in. But they're not going to do that. They'll never take a qualified car out of the show.
It is such a risk to take a qualified car out of the show because imagine he could take this car out and he could blow up the engine on the first warm-up lap and then he is out of the show. So the gamble is way too high. Now he goes to the back of what can be a long line. It takes about 12 minutes per car to qualify here. There is over half an hour left. So Rahal will be on tenterhooks to make sure if he does get bumped, he can get back in line far enough or near enough to tech to make another run.
He may be up there trying to convince guys who are not going to make the show. Scott Pruitt would be a long shot with a speed of 213 today, that he ought not make his attempt, that he ought to take the $100,000. I'll pay you last place money. Let me have your spot. But, of course, that's not an option. Pruitt's going to take a shot at it. I want to get more, if we can, on the Cheever wave-off story. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Standing down beside Eddie Cheever, he's still in the car with Gary Bettenhausen. And Gary, you talked to Eddie when he came in, leaned in, and had some discussions. Did Eddie know he had run almost 218 at last lap?
No, this car doesn't. This is the car I ran last year, and it doesn't have the speedometer in it, so he just had to leave it up to us. The newer cars have the speedometer and tell you exactly how fast you went each lap.
You spoke with Eddie, and he commented on the car maybe having a little bit of a push. You made an adjustment.
Yes, we made a couple of little changes just to help stick the front end a little bit more.
Did they know?
So you feel pretty comfortable he's going to be able to go back out and run at least the 217 that would have gotten him in the field?
Yes, undoubtedly, if we get a shot at it.
Gary Bettenhausen, who Eddie Cheever has given much of the credit for getting him up to speed in about an hour and a half here on the last day of qualifying.
Scott Pruitt now strapping into his car for his qualifying attempt. He will try to bump Ray Hall from the show. Ray Hall is at the back of the line with a very slim chance of bumping back in if, in fact, Pruitt is successful. And, yes, we do know a bit more about the A.J. Foyt story. We'll have that and more when we come back. Indy 500 time trials have been brought to you by Budweiser. Fresh, pure, natural. Proud to be your bud. On the track, live from Indianapolis, we bring you the shots of Scott Pruitt as he begins his qualifying attempt, trying to bump Ray Hall from the show. His best today, as we said, 213.3. His best of the month, 218.1. Do you think there's a Cheever-esque run awaiting here?
It is so hard to know with this package. Possibly one of the best prepared, certainly one of the best presented cars in Gasoline Alley. It's a 91 Lola with the Chevrolet A engine to Scott Pruitt. But next in line is Eric Bachelor. You see him going through tech, and he's right after John Paul, I believe.
That may indicate that Paul has pulled out of line, or perhaps Paul has completed tech. That is the indication that Paul has completed tech. Bachelard is in tech, and Cheever is next in line. An incredible race to see if Cheever can get back out on the racetrack, and if he does, can he bump Ray Hall, and then will Ray Hall have a chance to get back? But for the moment, the focus is on John Paul as he gets underway with his qualifying effort here.
It's hard to believe that we have Scott Pruitt in a position to bump out Bobby Rahal, who drives the car that Scott Pruitt struggled with so much last year, and now Rahal is even having a bigger struggle with the same car. But Scott Pruitt, he really only has one chance. You have to give it everything here, and if you come up short, well, at least you can say you gave it your best effort.
Cheever waits as Pruitt circles the racetrack. I called him John Paul. The blue and white paint schemes are similar. The backgrounds are very different. The speed for the first lap, though, is far off the pace. 2:14.6. Will they continue to circulate, or will they just wave it off quickly?
No good. Way too low. It's a waste of time. If he's going to be able to change this car, make some adjustments, make it go faster, he needs to stop and put it back in line, because he will have to have a massive speed increase to get the average for 4 laps above the required 217.1.
The question is whether he will go ahead and do that, and ultimately that is the call of the crew, and there is the yellow. The crew waving the yellow flag, saying, no, this is not going to work. Let's try to salvage what we can of this dramatic last half hour of qualifying at Indianapolis. They have waved it off, and now Buddy Lazier waiting in line, hoping to get his shot. I believe that he would be behind Cheever, as Eddie Cheever, by our count, is third, and that would give him time, I believe, barring yellows or all the other unforeseens, to perhaps make the show. Here's the man on the bubble, Bobby Rahal.
And remember, Rahal will not play another card in his deck until somebody forces him to do it. That somebody could be Cheever. John Paul is the next one to have the chance. He hasn't been fast enough. Eric Bachelor hasn't been fast enough. And then we see Eddie Cheever roll out again. He's already done 4 laps that were fast enough, and they waved it off.
That's still the most incredible story of the month, that they waved off that time, and we can only conclude that they did not know. They had estimated as best they could. And keep in mind that the crew must time the lap before he completes the lap. In other words, they've got to know, they've got to anticipate what his speed is going to be and make their call early on. And it's pretty easy. If you're running 217 and you need 220, you know you're not even close. They're splitting hundreds and even thousands of a mile an hour here.
That's right. And of course, how they do that is they time the car as soon as it appears in turn 4. So they probably have 3 seconds to make that critical decision.
They made the decision. They called it wrong. Cheever is not in the show, despite an heroic driving effort here today. And Bobby Rahal continues to wait. Let's get more from Gary Lee.
Well, gentlemen, I was going to amplify on that timing. Right over here, we had the flag station. The owner or team manager will raise the green flag. That indicates the run will begin this time by. Then they time off a point coming off the corner. So it's not an estimate or a guess. They know what that lap speed is by timing from a post up on the 4th corner. If it's not fast enough, the yellow flag goes out and the run is waved off.
Rahal waits. And on the racetrack, John Paul Jr. John Paul Jr. has had one spin and one unsuccessful attempt, do I recall correctly?
That is right.
Qualifying thus far.
This is attempt number 2, and racing cars become obsolete so fast. This was obsolete last year when it was 1992. It's still the same car. This year it's a 1991 Lola with a very potent Buick V6 in the back of it. John Paul has struggled to get enough speed out of this. As fast as all month, if he can repeat his ultimate speed for the month, it still will not be fast enough to get him in the race here. So he, just like Willie Cheevers yesterday, has to dig a little bit deeper into that talent bag and try and pull out the extra 10%.
We are convinced by human count that this is his 3rd attempt of the month. The computer says it is his 2nd. We believe it is his 3rd and final, and I think, given the realities of the clock and the line, that it's going to be his final in any case.
This is it. You go fast enough now, or you wax the car and you put it away to maybe try another day. You will not get another chance. This is one of the one-race season teams run and owned by Dave Mann, local developer here in Indianapolis, has a desire again to put John Paul on this particular car back into the Indy 500. We wait for his first lap speed.
We cannot help but hope the best for John Paul, a young man who had such incredible potential. As he came up, his father fell foul of the law. A drug dealing ring sent him to prison, and John Paul was caught up in that and served a significantly shorter bit of time, but served his time nonetheless and came out, and not surprisingly, I guess, found it very difficult to get top-line equipment. Man believes in him, and man wants him in this race, and now John Paul is trying to respond with a lap that will get him there. I think it's a long shot.
It is a long shot. His career definitely got sideways when he got in trouble with that trouble with the police. However, he drives almost everything he can get his hands on right now, and his first lap is good enough. Jeepers, John Paul has done a 2:17.3. Now, if he can do this 3 laps in a row, John Paul is the one that will bump out Bobby Rahal. Well.
It is not the first time this month we have seen this story. Willie Ribbs did it yesterday. He reached down and found speed he had not had all month. Paul is potentially in the show. 2:17.323 the speed.
Rahal, look, he stands up on the golf cart to have a clear view of what's going on here. John Paul finishes his 2nd lap. Oh, it's slower. It is slower. It's a 2:16.6. Now the average is 2:16.9. So John Paul is going to have to dig. Oh, he blew it up. Engine is gone. It's over.
John Paul's hopes of making this Indy 500 appear to have ended. The question now, has he oiled the racetrack? Will there be yellow? Or can we move immediately to Bachelard? He pulls down off the racing line, but the cleanup crews have also rolled from turn 1, anticipating the potential of oil on the racetrack. Eric Bachelard is next in line. Eddie Cheever is behind Bachelard. Then Buddy Lazier and Kevin Cogan, and the agony continues here for the national champion, Bobby Rahal.
There is precious little time left for the cleanup crews to get out there and inspect the racing line. It looked to me as if John Paul's engine blew up in the racing line, in the groove coming off turn 2. That's what they will inspect. Eric Bachelor sits there. It could take as much as 10 to 12 minutes to get Bachelor if he does a full run. Then Eddie Cheever goes out again. I'm not sure if Cheever knocks Rahal out of this race, that Rahal's going to have enough time to come back and try and requalify.
With every tick of the clock, his chances are reduced. Cheever being strapped back into the car. The drama of Bubble Day continues at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Bobby Rahal says, what can I do? Coming up tonight on ESPN, Sunday Night Baseball, the Yankees and the Red Sox. That ought to be a barn burner coming your way at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock out on the coast. Then followed, of course, by NHL hockey. The Toronto Maple Leafs take on the LA Kings as playoff action continues here on ESPN. Maybe I'm a little prejudiced, but I wonder if there'll be anything tonight to match the drama that we have seen here with 22 minutes remaining. Bobby Rahal waits to see if he'll be bumped from the 500 field, and we expected that weather would be his biggest ally. Turns out that a blown engine by John Paul has left oil on the racetrack. I'm sorry, it was indeed John Paul's blown engine left oil on the racetrack. I don't know why I'm mixing him and Scott Pruitt up today, but this is a huge help for Rahal.
Well, it is time-consuming, and remember, this will make... that's the warm-up lane. That is the warm-up lane. It's not actually in the groove. So thankfully there wasn't too much oil left out on the racetrack. But remember, as we stand now, we have Eric Bachelor is the next to go out. Eddie Cheever, who really stands a good chance to bump Bobby Rahal out. Then Buddy Lazier is right after him, and then Kevin Cogan. If Cheever bumps Rahal, I can't see at the moment how there's enough time for Rahal to come back and try and get himself back in the race.
It appears impossible. It appears that of the cards in Rahal's deck, the retaliation opportunity has been removed by the clock. If indeed he's bumped, I don't think he's going to get another shot.
Now they are on the racetrack actually with the oil dry. They are actually out in the racing groove now with oil dry.
Here you see the cleanup crew. This a result of the blown engine. John Paul, let's go to Jan Bikas for more.
Standing by with Eddie Cheever, we know that he has the speed to bump Rahal from the field. He knows it also. He is waiting here. The crew has told him he knows about the grease sweep going out of the track, but he knows it's not in the groove. If he just has the time, he knows that he has the speed. Of course, the team also knows that no way will they wave off this one with the time permitting. This could be the man right here that could determine the field for the biggest spectacle in racing, the Indy 500. Guys?
What an incredible drama.
Well, Rahal, I mean, he smiles there. Imagine how hard that is to force that smile in this situation. He got a reprieve when Eddie Cheever had his run waved off. But now that actually may have dealt him a worse hand because it forced him to take his car out of line and put it to the back. If Cheever had bumped him, Rahal would have gone immediately.
He would
so
have
there may
the
be two
run.
sides to this.
Exactly. It can cut both ways, and so often does here. But Rahal was there and ready with a car that has run 220 miles an hour, forced by the rules, by this convoluted, some would say Machiavellian rules procedure here by which they qualify. He was forced to pull that car out or make his other decision, which was to remove a qualified car from the field, and you never do that.
That's right, and the terrible thing is Rahal is not in control of his own destiny with the biggest race in the world here. His destiny is going to be determined by the next man in line, or Eddie Cheever, who has shown and proven he has the speed. 19 minutes remain. Rahal, if he gets bumped out, I'll be shocked if he gets another opportunity to get back in again.
All of this, of course, assumes that the weatherman doesn't intervene here, drop drops of rain on the racetrack and cut it all short and rob us of the final 19 minutes of drama, because that was the threat with which we began the day and the one that we've been concerned about throughout. The black clouds are there, the rain is not, and does not, I think, at this moment appear imminent. What an incredible finish to a great month of May. All these cars and all these drivers who came here trying to stick their number on that scoring pylon. Now, the engine fires, and Eric Bachelor returns to the racetrack, leaving Cheever plenty of time. The cleanup crew did their job in a hurry. Let's hope they did it well. His best speed today, 212.194.
Well, Eric Bachelor, you better take a deep breath, hold it as long as you can, and dig deeper than you ever have dug into that talent bag before. because to get another 5 miles an hour quicker than you've run today is a very big task to ask any racing driver to do. But I'll guarantee you, everybody in Illinois, where this team is based, is absolutely pulling for Eric Bachelard at the moment, because they are all mindful of the terrible destruction and difficulties this team has gone through all through this month of May so far.
4 men have stepped up to take their swing at Bobby Rahal in an attempt to knock him out of this race. 3 of them were unsuccessful. I guess we could say, to perhaps pursue the baseball analogy, that Eddie Cheever watched a called third strike go by. Now Bachelard is the 5th to try, and it seems unreasonable to expect that he would have the speed. Cheever gets the reprieve of the day as he gets to run next, because the clock continues to tick. Bachelard working his way down.
And this car is a 92 Lola Chevrolet. It started off here as a Lola Buick. They realized there was too much trouble trying to handle the Buick cars. They had spectacular engine blow-ups. One of them caused Eric Bachelard a terrible crash just over a week ago. In 8 hours, this crew attacked the vehicle, took the Buick out, and in 8 hours they headed back to a Chevrolet conversion. Now they hope that there's enough power in that Chevrolet A engine to push this to speeds that this car has never seen here this month.
You made the point to me earlier this morning that hours and effort do not necessarily translate into success.
That is the unfortunate thing about racing. When you have everything, they want to give you everything else. When you have nothing and you struggle, you tend to stay by yourself. And the cars that struggle and the teams that struggle tend to be the ones that put in the long hours and the all-nighters and get very little return for their effort sometimes.
No team has struggled harder in the 1993 Indy 500 qualifying process than this one. This is their last, indeed their only chance now to put a car in the show. 209 miles an hour is the speed. Bachelard will not be in the field. The only question now is whether or not they would pull him off immediately. There's absolutely nothing to gain by keeping that car on the racetrack unless they would have some favoritism, some choice between Cheever and Rahal.
And I doubt it. No, I'm sure there is so much more speed to find. They need to get Bachelard off that racetrack and give Eddie Cheever his second chance. Now, as the waning moments of today and this evening come, have we got a yellow? We do have a yellow. We do have a yellow. So there's Dale Coyne there. He knows he brought 3 cars here and 3 drivers, and he will go home from here absolutely empty-handed. But the problem is now, Cheever will run, then Kevin Cogan is in line, Didier Thays, who will want another opportunity before you get to Bobby Rahal.
It's over for Dale Coyne. The clock continues to tick for Bobby Rahal. Let's hear from him.
Bobby, you look so calm and collected inside. I know you're churning. Do you have enough time if in fact you do get bumped?
Well, I think there's one guy between us and Cheever, so we'll see. You know, we shouldn't be in this position to begin with, but here we are.
This is no way to treat a 1986 Indy 500 champion.
Well, we took a gamble on our chassis. We thought we could make it work. Obviously, we've got some problems with it that we didn't think we would have, and you know, we're paying the price for that right now. But so be it. We'll be, you know, if we don't make it this year, we'll be back next year.
You're perched up here on some tires like a king on his throne, and we've got a couple of guys taking a shot at you.
Well, I'm trying to see what's going on with all these people standing around. It's hard, but you know, I feel confident we can go quick enough to qualify again. So we'll just have to see what happens.
He can still manage a smile. A dramatic final 15 minutes from the Brickyard in Indianapolis.
I admire the guy's cool. I admire him, too, for what he did in putting that team together, bringing that car here, the effort to build an American Indy car to battle all the cars that come from offshore. We are underway with the warm-up for what may be the most dramatic qualifying run, at least in recent IndyCar history.
Little twitch from Cheever there as he came off turn 2. He shocked us earlier by waving off a run that would have him safely in the field as of now. He has to do it 4 more times. It's 10 miles, the most unusual qualifying situation for anybody that comes from a European road racing background. Cheever has come up to the task, particularly here the last time when he qualified as the fastest forward in the middle of the front row. But now this is his first green flag lap.
Eddie Cheever is on his second qualifying run of the day. He who must think this month of May will last forever. Let's get a quick update on that car from Jan Beekes.
Yes, gentlemen, remember that he is not on sticker tires like he was during his first run. The first time we saw Eddie Cheever, he went on a brand new sticker tires. They have made a slight change on the front wings to take away the push, but remember, his speeds this time might come down as opposed to going up because he's on the same tires he already ran those hardcore laps on.
There is no doubt when you have brand new tires on, the very first time they come up to temperature, they go higher than they normally do after a heat cycle. But listen to this. Cheever is above 218 miles an hour, 218.5. And Bobby Rahal, you better put your fighting face on. You have to go back to battle.
Kevin Cogan has pulled out of line. 2 cars sit between Rahal and the head of the show and the opportunity to retaliate. And on the racetrack, the story of the moment is Eddie Cheever's incredible blitz. Yesterday, he fought an ill-handling car, nearly stuck it in the wall. He was close right there.
Look at Cheever here. He is beginning to fight this car now. Off 4, slipped up into the gray a little bit. Watch for his speed. Oh, it's good. It's good. 218.3. He's above 218 for the 2 laps. That's only halfway through the run, though. He needs 2 more good, consistent laps, and Rahal is in deep trouble.
Heck, maybe John and Norm knew all along they could go faster and figured they wanted the best speed they could get. I don't think so. They made a mistake earlier, and now Cheever is halfway to recovery from that earlier error. His average is 218.4. He needs only 217.1. So Cheever, Cheever has plenty in hand, but he's close.
Take it easy here. Jan's comment earlier where they dialed some front wing into this car to get rid of the push. When you get rid of push, you can keep the power on deeper into the corner and get back on the power earlier. But his speed is coming down. That bump, or bobble off turn 4 has cost him a little bit. 217.4. However, the average is still above 218. Cheever needs 2 more corners, and he's in the race.
He paid dearly for that push the last time by. This time he's got to keep that car in line and on form off turn 4. If he can do it, he'll be in the show, and the spotlight will shift back to Rahal. Here he comes to complete this dramatic qualifying run. Eddie Cheever down to the checkered flag. I think there's no doubt that he's done it. We'll wait for the confirmation from the computer, and here it is, 217.599, but it was close. He fell to 216 flat on the last lap.
That was a close call. If Cheever had not put in those 218s on the first 2 laps, he would have been in deep trouble. The last lap, you said it, Dave, 216, but he's comfortable now. 4 people now have to be bumped out ahead of him before he is in jeopardy.
Let's go to Gary Lee.
It was about this time last year you were jumping up and down, Norm. You're jumping up again, this time with John Menard. Look at those smiles.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank John for the opportunity to be involved with the Menards team and that, and this Turley Menards combination with the quorum and the Glidden paint and all that. We'll be real happy to be in the show.
I got to tell you, it's easy to second guess, and I thought you guys rolled the dice and made a bad decision about 30 minutes ago.
Well, maybe we did. I don't know. We're in anyway, so I don't think anybody's going to take us out.
The driver's coming up behind us. Go green, Eddie Cheever. He has just bumped the 1986 Indy 500 champion Bobby Rahal from this year's field.
9.5 minutes remain. Buddy Lazier is on the racetrack, gobbling precious moments from Bobby Rahal's opportunity to retaliate. Eddie Cheever has bumped Rahal from the 500 field.
There was a bullet aimed straight at Eddie Cheever, and he dodged it when they made that decision earlier. But look at the elation now. Cheever had no hope in his own car of getting into this race, and now he is absolutely delighted.
A last-minute marriage with another car owner gives Cheever a ride. Rahal straps into the cockpit, some 8 minutes away from the gun that will end the day. And between Bobby Rahal and that racetrack sits the car of Didier Taze, a man who paid his entry fee just like the national champion, a man who paid his dues against the hard concrete here earlier in the month, a man whom the rules say will get his shot if he wants it, and in all likelihood deny Rahal a chance to rebump and get back in the show.
And remember, anything could happen here during Buddy Lazier's run. He was fast enough during the month at 219.9 miles an hour in this car. Let's go down to Jerry Punch.
And Eddie Cheever is standing up, getting a big hug from Norm Turley and the crew here as they congratulate this driver, 35 years of age, from Aspen, Colorado. And now they begin to celebrate here, and Eddie Cheever, he looks around and high-fives the crew, trying to get his helmet off and trying to get everything unbuckled so we can get a comment from Eddie Cheever. He's absolutely got to be ecstatic. And Eddie, congratulations on absolute courage here in the last hour.
This has been the longest month of my life. I'm glad the car ran well. I've caught my guard on, but I really appreciate the effort that my team has put through, and if Menard hadn't offered us the car, we wouldn't have been in the show. So,
did you know the last lap was going to be close? The speed was down?
I was really getting loose. We changed the car. I've only run it an hour and a half. But Gary was helping me a lot. Their crew was helping me a lot, and it was exciting. It has been a very exciting 2 hours. When I sat in the first 10 minutes, it felt pretty good. And I couldn't break through the 212. I couldn't break the 212, and Gary said, look, just keep your foot on it. And he took a long drag in the cigarette, and I said, well, why not? And it worked. It was good. I'm very happy.
Eddie Cheever is in the field here at Indianapolis in the last few minutes, guys.
And Buddy Lazier has pulled off the racetrack. Lazier has aborted his qualifying attempt. Taze is next. There may be time. 7 minutes remain. 7 minutes till the gun sounds. A gun that will mark either Bobby Rahall's opportunity to get back in the show or the end of his 1993 500.
And you can very often take advantage of somebody else's misfortune in racing. Buddy Lazier's misfortune, where he waved off those last 2 laps, may have helped Bobby Rahal get into this race, because Didier Taze may get his run done in that 7 minutes, and Rahal, if he gets out before the gun, has a chance to bump out Mark Smith.
There's a wonderful irony. The computer system, which calculates the lap-by-lap times and feeds it to all of the crews in the television truck and the rest of Indianapolis Motor Speedway, took this opportunity to go on the blink. It is now back. The speed for the record on Lazier before he aborted 2:16.4, which was not that far off the pace.
Didier Taze does not have many opportunities left. We saw him wave off a run earlier on. We saw him crash this car just before the first weekend's qualifying last weekend, and now he's back out again. 6 minutes. It only takes, when you start your run officially, it only takes just under 3 minutes to actually complete your official laps, as well as the time it takes you to warm up. So Rahal could have a chance here unless something serious happens, Didier Taze, on the racetrack that closes down the racetrack.
And keep in mind that if Rahal clears the pit, if he gets through he's through the tech line. If he gets the car off pit road before the gun sounds, then he's okay. He gets to complete the attempt. In fact, we've seen that a couple of times here during the qualifying run. You saw the graphic. We should make the point that Mark Smith is now the man in danger of being bumped for the second time from the show. Taze working his way up to speed. Rahal sits and waits in the car, ready to go, assuming the clock will allow him the opportunity. So for Didier Taze, it wasn't there earlier, and the question is whether they may have found it. I would think that would be a minor miracle.
Well, we've seen minor miracles and major miracles happen here in the past. One of the major miracles happened to our pole sitter, Ari Lyondike, who went from a 2:15 in the morning to a staggering 2:23.9 in the evening. But Didier Taze is on it. It will take 3 minutes if he completes the run. Rahal should have another opportunity to get back in this race.
We are inside 5 minutes as the run begins for Didier Taze. Taze, who had one just a few moments ago, this will be his final attempt, but that's moot because the clock is going to run out on him, and I believe we can get more on this from Gary Lee.
Well, the brain trust of this Didier Taze crew down here with us, the man in the red jacket, Ron Himmelgarn. He is the car owner. The man in the purple shirt, a very fine driver in his own right, Lee Koonsman, his team manager. Lee said, if we're close, we're going for it. Obviously, from the response right there, they're fast enough. Lee did say, hey, if he's way off in that first run or the first lap, will pull him in and give Bobby a shot. But you can see from their jubilation, he was quick enough.
Whoa! Look at this, 219.3 miles an hour.
What a shocker from Didier Thays. This is a Buick engine car, as Gary says, owned and operated by Ron Hemmelgarn. A shocking speed that Didier Thays finds, way faster than anything is produced so far this month. 219.378. He just got a tremendous round of applause from everybody here on the grandstand.
Except perhaps from Bobby Rahal. Kevin Cogan suddenly is in some danger, because if indeed Thays is fast enough to bump Rahal, and if Rahal next in line is fast enough to bump Cogan, then the end of this drama could be that all three of them, Cheever, Thays, and Rahal, make the show, and Cogan does not.
And his second lap is really good also, 218.8, almost 219. So Didier Thays is halfway towards qualifying for the Indy 500 with 3 minutes remaining.
Thays did not make the show in 1992 or 91. Last drove the 500 in 1990 and finished 11th. And now Thays is back. His love for Indianapolis unchanged, and he is determined to put it in the show. He takes the white flag, and the clock indicates, we wait for the time, 2:17.3, a big drop. The average is still fine.
Still good. The average is above 218.4. They have no option. They must take whatever he can produce on this last lap. Didier Thays is 2 corners away from qualifying for this race if he can keep it around the high 216. And there Rahal sits, hoping to get out in the dying minutes.
Down he comes for the checkered flag. As quickly as it waves, the officials will move Rahal off and onto the racetrack. Here comes the checkered flag. It appears that Thays is safely in. We were surprised at the drop-off in Cheever's run. We expected some. We saw more than we expected. A big drop to 2:15.5. He's in. Average 2:17.7. He's made the show. And now the race for Rahal is on. He is on the road. He is underway. The gun did not sound. Let's go trackside to Gary Lee.
I've been around this guy for years, and you can see the mustache kind of curl up with that smile. Where did he get the extra speed this afternoon?
We just told Didier he had to tighten up those straps and go for it. We knew the car was plenty fast enough. We'd gone fast enough all month, and you know, the sponsors, Delta and Kinko, they just stuck with us through the whole thing, so we got it in the show, and we're really happy about it.
Hey, we're getting too old to meet like this late this time and qualify.
Well, you know, every year I always put one car into the last day, and I'm just going to keep it a tradition.
Congratulations. His other driver, of course, is Stan Fox. He qualified last weekend.
Derek Walker said it yesterday. He called it the Willie factor. The last 10% comes from the driver. Didier Thays has just found it. The owner gives him the best equipment he can give him to take onto the racetrack. As Kevin Cogan sits on the bubble for Bobby Rahal, he is the owner and the driver, and he must now find that 10% and put his backup car in the show.
If this bubble bursts for Kevin Cogan, he has no opportunity left to come back and try and qualify another car. Debbie Rahal can do nothing except hang her head and hope that this Rahal-Hogan chassis that has done a 219.6 during the course of this month. He only did 215 today, but there should be enough speed in this car to get Rahal back in the race, and unfortunately for Kevin Cogan, that will put him on the sidelines.
Sports Center is next, and Chris Myers will have all the rest of the news from around the world of sports. What you're watching live from Indianapolis is the final qualifying attempt for the 1993 77th running of the 500, and the man on the racetrack is the national champion, Bobby Rahal. His confidence unshaken by everything that has gone on here today. He now gets his one last and I think well-deserved shot to put it in the show.
Mental toughness is the mark of a champion, particularly a racing driver. Rahal can block out all the distractions of today and now get the maximum out of this car. You cannot carry Indy cars that much. The car has to be able to produce the speed itself, and then you drive it. So let's watch to see what the first. Oh, Carl Hogan looks on in anticipation.
The speed he needs is 2:17.230. The speed he has is 2:17.360. That is fast enough by the tiniest of margins. Rahal must now continue to dig down and pull it out. He's got to do that 3 more laps.
He is hanging on by his fingernails. Out of turn 2, Rahal goes higher and closer to the wall than he has ever gone all month. He doesn't like to run up there, but he may have to use some of the racetrack that isn't normally available. Look at him. Look at him. He's right against the wall again.
The gun has just sounded. Qualifying ends with this run. Bobby Rahal, halfway through, puts the second lap in the book, and it's down significantly. 2:16.82, the average. 2:17.090. It's not good enough. Rahal's got to push it even harder, and I wonder if the car can do it.
He's in deep trouble here. Rahal is in deep trouble. He needs to try and get a perfect 2 laps on the last 2 laps here, or Rahal will not be in the biggest race in the world. This is turn 4 on lap 3. Let's see is it quick enough.
Rahal, again, out close to the wall, comes down to take the white flag. 1 to go. The gloom on Carl Hogan's face, I think, may tell the story as we await the time for lap 3.
No good.
2:14.782. It is not going to happen.
He's out.
Bobby Rahal will not make the 500. He got the shot, but at the big moment, he could not find the speed. Rahal, who had gone 2:15 in the car earlier today, Debbie knows the story. The watch tells it all. It's all over for Bobby Rahal. The national champion will not make the Indy 500.
The only thing that doesn't tell lies in racing is a stopwatch, and it is not telling Bobby Rahal or Carl Hogan or Debbie Rahal enough. He takes the checkered flag, but Bobby Rahal has struggled here, and I'm sure it's over. It is over. He's out. He's out.
He found a couple of miles an hour on the last lap. He falls short by just about 1 mile an hour. For he and his partner Carl Hogan, this month of May has ended a week premature. Bobby Rahal did not make the show. We thank Jan Beekes, Gary Lee, and Dr. Jerry Punch for their efforts down trackside. Sports Center coming up next. Derek Daly, a pleasure as always to work with a pro. Bobby Rahal, our condolences, our congratulations to Cheever and Tays, who have qualified magnificently on this dramatic bubble day at Indianapolis. I'm Dave Despain. So long from the Speedway.